Welcome to Not Another White Box. My name is Cameron and today I'm going to be showing you one of my favourite pieces of caravan design ever. Already you'll notice it's so quirky and cool and definitely not another white box. So let's take a closer look at what makes this such a special piece of caravan design. If you're wondering what it is, it's a 1967 Kema Kwikstaart. And if that's not sounding a familiar name to you, that's because it's Dutch. These were an incredibly rare caravan even when they were new. They were rumoured to have produced around 10 a year during the total production run, which lasted around 15 years from the early 1960s through to the mid 1970s. From the front to the back, they've got this incredible swooping shape which is typical and completely unique of all Kema caravans. If we move round towards the front end of the caravan, you will notice that there is two fixed windows on the front panel. Funnily enough, the only window on the whole caravan which you can open is the rear one, but it's supplemented by a stable door which allows ventilation while keeping the lower half closed, but also the pop-top roof. Strangely, the pop-top adds height inside towards the back of the caravan, but doesn't reduce the overall height of the caravan like most pop-top tourers do. It's still possible to stand up inside the caravan even when the roof is folded down. It's simply pushed up at the back and, as I said before, just allows an extra few feet of space to be able to stand up inside the caravan, which has an extremely low slung roof, front and back, which no doubt makes it much easier to tow, much easier to store, and lets you achieve better miles per gallon while towing. Interestingly enough, the caravan weighs barely 450 kilograms, which is absolutely amazing for a 12-foot tourer that can sleep 4 people with ease. At the front we have the typical European hitch of the era, which has this rather clever spring-loaded handle which holds the hitch handle down. You'll notice that it has kind of a hitch damper spring mechanism, but there's no handbrake, and that's presumably because the caravan weighs less than 750 kilograms. Here's a little secret hallmark of it being a Dutch caravan. It's a tow ball mounting point for a bicycle rack. What else would you get from a Dutch caravan? The chassis is made of steel and it runs on leaf spring suspension. It's a fairly traditional setup for a caravan of this era. Rather unconventionally for the 1960s, the Kema is actually made of hardboard. And the downside of this is that really it needs to be kept garaged, because in the winter months when it's humid, the hardboard will swell and contract. And unfortunately, as this particular example has been left outside for quite a few years prior to me getting it, that has happened in various places. The plan ultimately is to reskin the caravan in aluminium, which will preserve it further and make it more suitable for leaving outside to the elements. I should point out that this rear window isn't actually original. Originally it had a long piece of hardboard with 2 more curved rectangular windows let into it. But as the original piece had completely fallen to pieces with the wind and the rain, we had a look at what else would fit, and this is actually a window from a Tortue caravan, a Belgian caravan, which we had some spare windows produced for. I thought as it was such a made-to-measure fit, we would stick with it, and it offers this fantastic panoramic view out of the back of the caravan. So not strictly original, but I think it does the job very well. The early origins of the Kema brand seem to date from around 1960 to 1961. It was rumoured to be a father and son team that constructed the caravans from scratch in a small unit in their back garden. They were rumoured to turn out around 10 to 15 caravans a year at the absolute peak of production, but it's thought that the numbers were generally much less than this. Here we're looking at a Kema Swallow, which was the smallest 2-berth model and was the basis for which the Kwikstaart would be designed. You'll see in here many similarities between the early model here and the later Kwikstaart which I have. My particular caravan was brought over to England by a restaurant who used it as a prop in their outdoor exhibit, and when finished they simply tossed it out onto the street with broken windows where it sat until it was picked up by an enthusiast who took it home and made small repairs to enable him to use it for fishing trips. Unfortunately, the interior was badly damaged, which wasn't helped by the fact that it had been previously restored and resealed with silicone sealant. I had to make many repairs, including repairs to the panels which had been damaged, and it was quite difficult to work with due to it being hardboard. It was very difficult to paint the hardboard too with automotive paint, but plenty of persistence saw me get there in the end. It's an incredible little rare caravan, certainly probably the only one in the UK, that was definitely worth saving. Inside the little Kema, you'll find at the back a dinette which neatly folds into a double bed, a central kitchen and wardrobe, and at the opposite end there is a small U-shaped lounge which also converts into a double bed. I've had to tweak this a little bit because an original table was missing from here, so it was easy to just remake the front end something a bit more usable. The upholstery unfortunately isn't original, but the curtains are. There was enough surviving original cushions and curtains to make a new complete set by sacrificing the seat cushions and just picking out the colours in a more neutral material. If you look very closely, you'll notice that the piping is made from the remnants of the original curtains and cushions. The wardrobe is quite unusual as well. It's accessed from the side with this rather quirky sliding door arrangement, and at the other end we will find a tall cupboard with shelves. The Kema still manages to keep secrets, one of which, my personal favourites, is this underfloor rubbish bin, which allows you to sweep the floor into the refuse bucket, which is neatly located underneath the hinged doormat. The stable door is a typical feature of European caravans, but something not seen elsewhere in the world. It's quite a nice little feature to have when you're sat in the front lounge. Here in the kitchen, I've actually got the roof down at the moment, and as you can see, I'm about 5'10", and there is plenty of room to stand up in the caravan with the roof down, which is quite rare for a pop top. And the reason being, although it does fit in a garage, it is a Dutch garage that it fits in. And a bit of trivia for you, England has statistically the smallest dimension garages in the whole of Europe. So if you're buying a European pop top because it promises to fit in the garage, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to fit in one in the UK. Useless bit of trivia for you. But the kitchen it's very small, very compact, but it's workable. It's well thought out. Up here you've got the sliding cupboards for storing your cups, plates, etc. And they're really deep as well, so you can get a normal full-size dinner plate in them. We have a whole worktop here which folds up to expose a little cooker, which in popular European style can be disconnected from the gas pipe and taken outside to cook, because the Europeans generally favour outdoor cooking, where the weather is generally better than it is in the UK. So it's a well thought out kitchen, and just at the end of the worktop, just as it stops, is this very small sink, but cleverly there is no fancy water system. In fact, I think it's absolutely genius. It's a water container which just hooks on the wall and has the tap already let into it, and when you filled it up on site, you just hook it back on the wall and you have a gravity fed water system. It's very simple but very effective, and I think a fantastic idea. Saves money, saves a little bit of weight, I guess, and compared to a modern 12-volt system, it's maintenance free. So there's a little thought from the past of a potential good idea for a budget caravan. Making the rear bed in the Kema is really easy, and I think originally it had a table at each end, although sadly one was missing. There is a piece of string underneath the table. I say string, it feels like a plastic coated curtain wire, and it pulls on a latch, and you simply pull it till it clicks, like so. And the table, I don't know if you can see on the camera, pivots on this leg and simply drops into place like so. And the next morning when you're putting your bed away, you simply move the cushions back, lift up the table like so, click it into place, and there you go, ready to eat breakfast on. It's such a very simple but effective way of dealing with a table, because they obviously take up a lot of space in a caravan, and I think it's a great idea that it serves a dual purpose as for making the bed. And the fact that this just stays in place and you don't need to store it anywhere or fiddle around hooking it and unhooking it just makes it so much easier to use. Inside, the Kema feels very cozy and warm. It doesn't feel claustrophobic, it doesn't feel small. In fact, I prefer to sit in the caravan with the roof popped down because it's just cozier and it's lovely. The huge perspex roof lets in loads of light, so what is normally a dark space is just flooded with the light. And the windows, although they're very small, they sort of make little frames of the view. It's kind of quirky. I thought it seems a really stupid idea having such small windows, but combined together they give you the same view that you would get if there were normal length windows. So I don't really think that's a problem. Sadly, the original upholstery was too far gone to save. There was only 3 cushions left, I think. But these curtains, which I managed to preserve, are the originals, and the upholstery was patterned to match. So using the spare bits of upholstery, my wonderfully talented mother-in-law has cleverly used it as piping, and we've picked the green out of the curtains, and on the other side we've picked a sort of an orangey salmon colour, which also matches the curtains. And the idea is that if you get bored of the upholstery, you can flip it over for a bit of a change of scene. And you'll have noticed on the earlier shots, the front dinette is a different colour to the back dinette, and this is purely because one lot of cushions is flipped over and the other one isn't. So there's a little restoration hack for you if you're wanting to think of ways to spice up your caravan a bit. You can fit it with reversible upholstery, so if you get bored of it, you can just change it. It's a very simple but fantastic idea. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and follow Not Another White Box on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter.